Welcome to Wednesday, September 17th, 2025, your day weather podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, what we're going to see here over the days ahead will be this slow-moving trough working its way eastward out of the region by tomorrow and into Friday, but we're going to have lingering rain and thunderstorm activity in the eastern areas, basically out into the plains along and east of I-25, along Interstate 90. You're still going to have some shower and thunderstorm and cool weather today, especially across the Dakotas, Nebraska, and eastern areas of Wyoming. We're going to see drier air come in behind this trough elsewhere. Now, we're going to see the remains of what was Tropical Storm Mario, now a depression, bring rain to California and parts of the southwestern United States here over the next day or two. That'll be interesting to watch. And overall, some nice weather for the most part this weekend, but have to warn you, the weekend looks really quite nice. However, there's going to be a little bit of shower and isolated shower and thunderstorm activity around this weekend. Not a lot of it, but kind of have to plan on it for your weekend. Going to be a good weekend to check out some of those changing fall colors like you're seeing there with that maple leaf there in Star Valley. For most of next week, going to be a pretty nice looking stretch of weather. We are expecting a bigger change in the overall look and feel of the weather pattern right at the end of the month, right as we go into October. We're seeing signals and signs of change about that time frame. And we've hinted at that with those strong jet stream winds across the northern Pacific. Another good slew of photos coming in from pretty sunsets and sunrises, as we're seeing here, to a lot of some stormy weather yesterday. And boy, there was quite a thunderstorm that rolled through the Laramie area yesterday, causing power outages, some hail, some very strong and gusty winds, and there were some strong thunderstorms in many areas yesterday, especially with heavy rain, wind, and a little bit of small to medium-sized hail and some very dark-looking clouds like you're seeing there. How about that for a lightning shot coming in from Colorado? Wow, beautiful photo there of the thunderstorm rolling through near Jefferson, Colorado. And then some dark-looking clouds. A couple of photos coming in from Casper. Just some mean-looking shelf clouds from those showers and thunderstorms that developed across Natrona County yesterday for the second day in a row. All the way out into North Platte, Nebraska, the moisture is extended eastward with this trough. And then a great shot there near Wellington, Colorado. Notice the ragged edges right here at the base of the cloud. This is where the updraft is coming into the thunderstorm very well. Wherever you see that, you're seeing a strong updraft, and there you can see the rain shaft on the other side of it. And a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity along the Colorado Front Range yesterday. Then how about this for an example of a roll cloud? Jan was able to pick this up looking across the Cheyenne area yesterday afternoon as the showers and thunderstorms developed and rolled through the region. Look at the span and the distance of that roll cloud across the area. Great example of that. Beautiful shot there in Platte County, Wyoming. Now, as we get to the satellite imagery this morning, well, you can easily see the two features of interest. The trough of low pressure that is now over here, slowly meandering across the region. Much drier air coming in behind it. So, for up here, you're going to see clearing skies and some improving weather. This includes western Wyoming, Utah, western Colorado. Then down here, here are the remains, right here especially, of Tropical Storm Mario. See how it's all the way up now into the northwest Baja area, and it's drifting this way. So you're going to get some September rain in California. If it's going to rain in September in California, you're probably going to get it from the remains of a tropical system like we're seeing right here. So that'll be something interesting to watch. And there's more subtropical moisture down here, and there may very well be south of this area I just highlighted another tropical disturbance developing later on. The water vapor really shows the drier air that's right behind this trough that's coming on in. And you can see the enhanced clouds here with that trough as it comes on through. So at 500 millibars, we're analyzing things you can see we have this double-barreled trough sitting in the northern plains. It's not completely detached from the jet stream, but it's not really able to move along. There's your little bit of an omega pattern right there. So it's going to be a slow mover, so it's going to keep things cool and damp and unsettled across the region. Even on Friday, while it's more east and dissipating a little bit, it's still there. So we're still going to hang on to some relative coolness and some moisture in some areas in the northern plains all the way up through Friday. And we continue to have some weakness, areas of low pressure off the California coast that will send little weather disturbances this way. This is why we're going to have a little bit of shower activity around this weekend. Now, if we look at precipitation through midnight Friday night, here's what's going to be coming basically from today through Friday up into this area here, with quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity across the Dakotas in particular, but some of it getting back into east central and northeastern areas of Wyoming. Could see some strong thunderstorms down here today as the tail end of the trough goes through that area. Then look at Arizona, western New Mexico, and look at California. Into southern California, some heavier rain from showers and thunderstorms, getting all the way into LA, getting all the way up into areas all the way up to Santa Barbara. So they're going to see some nice rain. Always good to see rain coming into California, and we'll have to watch that for maybe some flooding later on, as these tropical systems can sometimes throw you a wrench into the gears and produce a lot more than what the models are saying. Dry elsewhere in the Pacific Northwest behind that trough. As we go into the weekend, a zonal flow, zonal meaning generally west to east across the country. It kind of flattens out. And when it flattens out, you're going through a readjustment phase. So basically what's happening is the omega pattern that we've had for the last couple of weeks of these slow-moving Pacific troughs, well, the pattern that's been causing them is kind of going away, and a more westerly to easterly flow across the nation. This means Pacific air floods the zone, so to speak. We're getting more and more Canadian air up here. You can see the colors, the green and the blue colors here. This is showing that it is getting colder up there and staying colder up there, but we're still locked out from any intrusions of cold through this weekend, and this is going to be the case next week as well. This is what I wanted to highlight for the weekend. This is the precipitation forecast basically for Saturday and Sunday. So it's nothing remarkable here. There's more rain off the California coast, but what you see here is going to be some scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially across Montana, Idaho, northern and northwestern Wyoming, the Colorado Rockies, the Wasatch Front. What this is just your garden variety afternoon pop-up showers over the higher terrain. Otherwise, we're going to have a pretty decent weekend with some pretty comfortable September temperatures. Now, as we head into next week, this is where things get a little more dynamic. We're likely going to have a hurricane out here in the Atlantic. We have this cutoff low hanging off the California coast, which will keep onshore flow into California and keep showers in the forecast there. And here are those very strong jet stream winds developing across the Gulf of Alaska, the illusions, stormy wet weather for Alaska, but still generally a westerly flow across the nation heading into the beginnings of next week. This trough of low pressure will settle into the Dakotas and will probably drag a cool front through the plains and the front range of the Rockies around Monday and Tuesday. That might produce a little bit of weather, but nothing really cold, nothing really heavy with precipitation. But up here, we're just going to get a lot of weather generated in the weeks ahead, starting late next week. And that system by Friday, what's going to happen is this is going to start to fracture a little bit, and we're going to see storm systems and fronts get spun off from this vortex of low pressure up here and want to come inland. Question is going to be, are they going to push more into the Rockies or stay more in the Pacific Northwest? If you look at the date, this is a week from this Friday. So basically next weekend, and then after that is when we're likely going to see some of these systems that have more in the way of cold air and more in the way of energy and moisture able to penetrate further south and east off the Pacific Northwest. And if that happens, and we have high pressure that kind of sneaks in right here, that will allow the jet stream to take further trips to the south, which opens the door to more in the way of Canadian air. But that's not going to happen for a while, at least through the rest of this week, this weekend, and through all of next week. We're going to generally be mild September weather. If you look at what happens, though, over a 2-week period, now what we're seeing here, it's a little messy, but this is if you were in space looking straight down on the North Pole. So here's the U.S. for point of reference. Here's the Pacific Ocean. Over here's the other side of the globe. Here's Africa. Here's Europe, all of these areas here. So to give you a point of reference. So this is as of today, the 17th of September. What I'm showing you is the weather at 18,000 feet or 500 millibars. The temperatures are represented by the colors here. What I want you to notice is I'm going to show you what happens over a 2-week period. What you want to pay attention to is the size of where I'm going to highlight the red colors here. Basically is showing the size and the extent of where the jet stream is on the edges of this and where the cold air is. And the blue is showing you where the coldest air is, at least at the moment. It's on the other side of the globe. Basically on the other side, as you go over into Russia, as you go into Asia, that's where the cold is really building right now. But more importantly, I know this looks a little bit like an amoeba, but look at the edges of the boundary and look at the north-south extent from the poles of this black line I just showed you. So if you look at where we are today, looking at the northern hemisphere and go out 2 weeks, two things are noticeable. One, that area expands quite a bit. So I'll draw the red line here. So it is expanded further south. So basically, the expansion of the colder air covers more of the northern hemisphere. It kind of grows and pushes further south, which is exactly what you expect to see. But what you're also seeing here is, notice we've got one major vortex here, and we've got some other stronger systems here of smaller size. But when we go 2 weeks out, we have larger storms and we have more of them. Basically, the jet stream is going to be getting more wavy, and we have these two areas of colder air developing and spinning around the northern hemisphere. So once we get to the end of September into early October, the trends will be for the cold to expand across the northern hemisphere, get the jet stream stronger, and start producing more vigorous storms and fronts. And that all basically matches up with climatology. That's exactly what you'd expect as you get to the end of September into early October, a busier, more fall-like pattern. And this just illustrates as the season changes, as we get closer to and into October, things will be getting more busy. Have yourself a good Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.